hangover?
No, I'm setting up a demo for our next story.
Which is?
Well, there's a myth going around that it is impossible to swim in bubbly water, whether it's antacid tablets or carbonated. As long as there's bubbles in the water, you won't be able to swim.
Really?
Yeah, the conventional wisdom is that the bubbles make the water overall less dense, and so while you'd float in non-bubbly water, when you get to the bubble part, you'd sink like a stone.
Sounds like we're going for a swim.
I think so.
According to the myth, when water is filled with fizz, you supposedly sink without trace. But does the density difference of bubbly water really mean that swimming in it is impossible?
Well, since we used up all our antacid breaking out of jail, let's say we start with something small, like a fish tank, and make a bunch of bubbles in it and see what happens.
Sounds good. Let's do it. So the myth is that it is impossible to swim in bubbly water because the aerated water is supposed to be less dense than regular water. Are you ready for some experimenting? I don't think so. So I'm about to conduct some scale experiments to see if there is a change in density of water when I run a crap load of bubbles through it. All right, let's try that again.
It's a great place to start. Adam and his 2D mini-me will test the science at the heart of this myth. Do bubbles make a difference to the density of water?
What I've made here is a crude hydrometer. It's actually floating at a very specific depth, depending on the density of the water. If I increase the density of this fish tank with, say, salt, he would float a little higher. If I decrease the density with, let's say, air bubbles, he'd float a little lower. Now, if this myth is true and I put a whole bunch of air bubbles underneath this guy, little Adam there is going to drown.
So now that 2D mini-me is neutrally buoyant, it's time to see if he'll sink like the myth suggests.
3, 2, 1.
Someone's happy, but aside from putting a smile on Adam's dial, what are the results?
I'm seeing almost no change at all in the hydrometer's level. If anything, it's actually rising a little bit. And I must admit, I had a little bias going into this. I thought that as soon as I turned on the bubbles, that hydrometer was going to whoop, drop below the surface. I'm fully in the camp of the bubbles lower the density, but there's something else going on here. At any rate, in this small-scale test, it's not looking very good for this myth.
A conviction only confirmed after Jamie gets a demo.
So I see you're fixing to dump water all over my floor.
No, I'm containing it in this lovely tank. So what do you think's going to happen?
I think it's going to sink.
Check this out.
It's not sinking.
Not at all, not even a little bit. If anything, it rises up a fraction of an inch.
You would think that the increased amount of air in the water would make it less dense, so it would sink, but that seems to be counteracted and then some by the upwelling current of that movement of those bubbles.
It's not looking very good for the story at this point.
No.
Far from sinking, the hydrometer rose slightly, but it's too early to call this myth yet. After all, you can't test a swimming saga without getting wet.
I don't know, man. It's not looking very good for this story. Our hydrometer didn't just not sink in the water, it rose.
Well, you know, sometimes things as basic as air and water just doesn't scale that well. Let's say we bump it up a notch and go larger.
All right. Hey, you know that irrigation tank we use for whirlpool of death? What say we fill that full of water and put a bubbler at the bottom of it?
I think we've still got it.
I think we do. Let's do it.
Yep, the small scale wasn't particularly promising.
It's not sinking.
But the myth hasn't sunk just yet. And as Adam won't fit in that tank, the team is upsizing everything, starting with the bubble maker.
So this assembly of aquarium bubblers worked pretty well for this test, but if we're going to do this in a larger scale, I don't want to have to do all the plumbing and you can buy 1,000 of these little aquarium thingies. I need to figure out some more efficient way of creating lots of little bubbles.
And the method is typically Jamie-esque in its practical simplicity. Compressed air pumped into a canvas pillowcase, forcing thousands of tiny bubbles through the fabric.
Oh, that is very cool.
Very cool indeed. With the proof of concept pillowcase bubbling away, Adam's on to the next task.
Well, let's start figuring out how to go full scale with this, because I'm dying to get in the water with this.
If the myth is true, dying could be right. But Jamie doesn't seem too bothered by the prospect.
It's going to be fun.
But before the fun begins, Jamie has to upscale his prototype into a heavy-duty working model.
So all we've done here is welded together a couple of heavy steel frames, and we've sandwiched inside the frames a pillowcase. We're pumping air into that pillowcase, and as it pressurizes, it comes through the weave of the fabric.
That's great.
It makes little bubbles.
But not in the shop, it won't. For that, they're heading for some familiar, queasy scenery.
Brings back memories, don't it?
Not very pleasant ones.
Yep, the last time Adam took a dip in the irrigation tank,
Oh, that's great.
things did not go quite to plan.
I'm done with science for today.
We've done our small-scale tests, and we've learned a thing or two. But if we're going to find out if it's possible to swim in fizzy water, we're going to have to swim in fizzy water. So we've come back out here to Alameda to this 10,000-gallon tank that we installed a few years ago, and we're going to put a larger bubbler in it, and Adam's going to go for a swim. Or not.
Now comes the tricky bit, getting the giant bubbler up and in.
All right, take it on up. So our bubbler is just about ready to be put in place. That's a tight fit. Okay, stop. What happens next is that we hook up the air supply.
Okay, go ahead and give us some air.
Nice. And then we slowly lower it, the 20 feet to the bottom of this tank, which is full of reasonably clear but quite cold water. Then I will put on some scuba gear, and then we're pretty much ready to do this test, which I hope happens quickly because this water right now is about 50, 51 degrees.
As plans go, it's pretty straightforward.
I'm above ground, and yet I'm going scuba diving.
Bon voyage.
All right, here we go.
How's the water?
The water is so cold, I got an instant headache. But you know what's really cool in here?
What?
Looking out the portholes.
But before Adam can unhook the bubbler, it needs to be in the right position.
Is that good enough?
I think so. Will you start to lower it very slowly?
Will do.
The aim is to get the bubbler perfectly level, to have an even spread of bubbles at the surface.
Fire up the generator, please. Slowly bring it up to the mark.
As the rig roars into life, a perfect hubbub of bubbles bursts forth.
It's a gorgeous stream of bubbles. Can't wait to get into it.
Okay, well, I'll pull the chain out.
With their fully functioning rig in the right position, what's next?
This test is pretty much the same as our small-scale experiments, except this time we're going to have a human hydrometer, namely Adam. Now, we're going to try and weight him so he's neutrally buoyant, and just his head is floating above the water. And when we turn the air on, if he goes up or down, that'll tell us what's really happening.
It's time to sink or swim. In bubble trouble, Adam is about to find out if decreasing the density of water with air means you'll sink without a trace. And to do that, Adam's ditched the scuba tank and turned himself into a neutrally buoyant human hydrometer.
My wetsuit makes me quite floatacious. I'm overly buoyant, so I'm putting weights around my waist so that I will be neutrally buoyant, ideally floating right around here. Then we'll be able to see the best effect that the bubbles might have on it. All right, let's try it. I think that's perfect.
It's a simple test.
Let's fire up the compressor.
When Jamie turns on the bubbler, if Adam sinks, the myth is looking good.
Okay, open the valve to the mark, please.
Oh, here they come.
With the bubbles on, Adam does go under, but not quite as planned. He first gets pushed to the side, and only then does he sink.
I'll tell you, it's not making me sink like a stone, but it is creating this really strong current that's throwing me to the side, and I feel like dragging me down a little bit.
You don't seem to be able to stay right there.
No, I definitely can't stay on top of this. It's it's a super strong push, and if I...
Get pushed to the side, I get dragged under, is what he was going to say. It seems Adam is being lifted up and away from the central column of bubbles. And then, just like a convection current, there's a downward drag at the outer edge.
Where to from here?
Well, I think if we're seeing this kind of effect where it's an upwelling that drags me down on the outside, let's turn it up and see if the effect gets more pronounced.
It's my kind of thinking.
Of course, it's the one instruction that fits all myth-busting occasions. Ramp it up.
Oh! Trying to stay on top of it. Whoa! You wouldn't believe how gentle it looks at the bottom. The bubbles are so small, it's like smoke rising from this gentle platform. And up here, all hell is working loose.
Wow.
That's significant. Real.
Significant. And as they turn it up again,
Let's move it up another notch.
it only becomes more so. The bigger current pushes Adam to the side faster and then pulls him under further.
You know, that when the water was calm, we were like a foot below the surface. Now, it's like 6 inches below the surface. So we have, in fact, increased the volume of the water, which means we've decreased its density. And yet on the bubble stream, I'm not sinking.
That's amazing.
Yep, the increased volume is confirmation the density has decreased, which, according to the myth, should result in Adam sinking.
I'm on top of the bubbles, nah!
In fact, the upwelling of water associated with the rising bubbles
Whoa! Oh, the current is really strong.
is pushing him upwards until he reaches the sides, leaving just one further test.
We need more power, Scotty.
Jamie just made a Star Trek reference. Awesome!
And with the compressor giving us all she's got,
It's like riding a fucking Bronco.
Jamie and Adam are ready to wrap it up.
Well, I don't feel like we can call it on the basis of this tank. I think it's actually too small. This current being everything, it sort of overwhelms the original story, which is about bubbles. So I feel like we need to create more bubbles in a much bigger space. The myth is that you can't swim in bubbles. There's no swimming going on in there. It's treading. We need to go someplace we can do some swimming.
The close proximity of the tank's walls has rendered the results unreliable. To truly test the myth, they'll need somewhere with much more room to make a splash in.
This was a great test. It was also an excellent proof of concept for my prototype bubble maker. It put things in a human scale and showed us a lot about bubbles and how they interact with water. But given that this myth is about swimming in bubbles, to test it properly, we're going to have to go up yet more in scale.
Now, when you're getting out of a tank this big, the dismount is really important to do it safely. Watch this. Any questions?
So far, Bubble Trouble is looking like a bust.
Wow, I feel it totally lifting me.
But Adam and Jamie aren't done yet.
I took a pin in the leg.
To put this myth to bed, they're going to sink or swim in a full-sized pool with a super-sized bubbler, one that's 4 feet wide and 16 feet long. And to get the job done in double time, Jamie welds the massive steel frame while Adam sews the giant canvas bubbler bag.
Well, based on what we saw at the big tank, this new bladder ought to be perfect for the swimming pool. You know what it looks like? It looks like the world's largest whoopee cushion.
With both bubbler components ready to roll, the truck gets loaded and locked. And it's off to our familiar location.
Please don't start talking like a pirate again.
Okay.
Adam may be able to resist,
Are you excited? Yeah. Got a strong silent type he is.
but we can't.
So the myth is that it is impossible to swim in bubbly water. And so far we've tested that in small scale in a fish tank
It's not sinking.
and in a 10,000-gallon irrigation tank in what is now only medium scale.
I'm on top of the bubbles, ah!
In both cases, we found evidence of upwelling and currents that really make us feel like we haven't fully answered this question. So now it's time for Mondo scale, full-size swimming pool. Yeah, that's it. We've built a bubbler that will give us a swath of bubbles 4 feet wide and 16 feet long. I'm gonna get in it and see if I can swim. Yeah, we recognize that you have a choice of myths, and we thank you for flying MythBusters. That's nice and stable.
Remember those little fish tank bubblers and then that little bag that I tested out in the shop?
That's not bad.
Well, this is the final result of all that testing, the granddaddy bubbler. We've got I-beams on it to hold it down against the flotation. We've got a massive steel frame, the big bladder, and not one, but 2 air pumps to supply all the air we need. We drop it in the pool, and you got yourself a big-ass bubbler.
It's big, but will it be big enough to eliminate those supposed edge effects? Well, to find out, Adam, designated to do the wet work, goes under to guide it into position and make sure it's level.
It's within 1 or 2 degrees of level, and I'm inclined to start up the pump and see what it looks like.
I'm on it.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead and let some air in.
With the air pump on, things seem to be proceeding smoothly until...
Cut the air.
Luckily, Adam was clear of the rig when it made an unexpected and dangerous break for the surface. And make no mistake, despite the muffled noise and sub-aqua slow motion, that was 1,600 pounds of runaway rogue steel.
Not enough weight?
Not enough weight. The whole thing started to float.
Well, that's a
Bummer.
But the solution is simple.
It could simply be a matter of just placing the barbell weights in the corners.
Well, that's why we brought the barbells. I'll start to break them out.
With an additional 100 pounds on each corner, totaling 2,000 pounds, surely they've got this covered. Cue test number 2.
I see little bubbles starting to come up.
And at first, it all seems to be working beautifully. But once again, the astonishing force exerted by the buoyancy of the trapped air is evident.
Stop, cut the air.
And that's another...
Bummer.
Yeah,
It was looking so good.
it was looking so good, but now the whole rig and
Yeah.
So far, the team has selected option F for failure. But it takes more than 2,000 pounds of runaway steel to throw the MythBusters off their game.
This is just a minor setback. All we need are heavier I-beams or bars of steel of some sort to put on this thing. We'll be able to weight it down. We'll fix it.
Look, when you want to rescue big things from the bottom of a body of water, you use what are called lift bags, these airtight canvas bags. You fill with air, and the air lifts stuff off the bottom. What we've essentially made here is a captured air bladder. And we're trying to keep it on the bottom, which is proving more of a challenge than we surmised.
That's a workout, huh?
oh, this is where things get dangerous late in the day. Let's test them out.
Yeah. Right in place?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay far away from this rig while you pressurize it.
Their first unsuccessful test of the rig weighed in at 1,600 pounds. This time, they've got 4,200. But will this be enough?
There they come. Yeah, baby. So that may have been about halfway.
That's perfect. Nothing's budging. It looks gorgeous.
Excellent. So we had a few bugs to work out. So sue me. We added more weight. It took care of the buoyancy problem, and we're all tested, good to go. I think we're ready for tomorrow.
After double trouble with the bubbler,
Cut the air.
Adam and Jamie are ready to test the myth that it's impossible to swim in bubbly water.
Our first test is the control. Without turning the bubbler on, I'm going to swim from here across the pool and back.
And I'll take a reading on the stopwatch.
Once we've got that timing, we're going to turn the bubbler on. I'm going to do the same thing again and see if there's any difference.
And if there's anything to this myth, it should take Adam longer to swim through the bubbles.
Woo! Woo! Have I mentioned this pool is not heated? All right, I'm ready.
Okay, swimming without bubbles. In 3, 2, 1,
go.
The neutrally buoyant Frisco torpedo is off to lay down a marker. The theory being that a comparison of lap times in bubbly and non-bubbly water will tell us if there's anything to the myth at all. It may not be impossible, but it could be more difficult.
Stop! Woo!
I got 29.84 seconds. Let's call it an even 30 seconds.
Which means it's time to fire up the generator, blow some bubbles, and see if the torpedo is affected by those millions of tiny pockets of air.
Okay, swimming with bubbles. In 3, 2, 1, go.
On the first lap, displaying all of his exemplary style and technique, Adam powers through the bubbles. But on the way back, it's not so easy. Just like the small-scale tests, the upwelling current pushes him to the side and outweighs any effect the lower density may have.
Okay,
32.5 seconds.
that's a lot. That's like 8%.
So where does that leave us?
At this stage, it seems that the myth that it's impossible to swim in bubbly water is pretty much busted. It does, however, seem to be more difficult to swim in bubbly water, and the timings we've been taking from my testing seem to bear that out. So given that there might be a grain of truth to this story, that it might be more difficult but not impossible to swim in bubbly water, we're gonna ramp it up as far as we can go and see if we can't make that artifact more pronounced.
We've done our testing at 1/4 compressor capacity, and the results were interesting, but perhaps not conclusive. So I think now it's time to ramp it up. That's more like it. And that means we're gonna go full power with those compressors. We'll see what happens.
Wow, that's a lot of bubbles.
You ready?
Ready?
All right, full scale bubble test. In 3, 2, 1, go.
With the dial turned to 11, the forces Adam has to deal with are clearly evident. Despite looking quite serene below, it's a broiling, frothing volcano at the surface, and the current is just too strong to swim across.
Swim harder.
Meaning in this case, it is impossible to swim in.
Like any good myth, this one has a grain of truth at its heart. And that is that when you mix air with water, it is going to make that water less dense. The thing is that by taking it to ridiculous extremes like we have, you're just not trying hard enough. Stop screwing around. That decrease in density relative to its surroundings causes an upwelling and a very vigorous current, in fact. And that current is so vigorous that it makes it virtually impossible to swim through it.
I swallowed some water.
After small scale, medium scale, and full scale, it wasn't until super full scale that they got the result they were looking for. And Adam, for one, is buoyant.
This myth is a letter-perfect case for why I love doing this show. We started out with a myth about it being impossible to swim in bubbly water, the conventional wisdom being that bubbles make the water less dense and thus you would sink, when in fact it turns out that the bubbles create this churning upwelling of current as they rise to the surface, and it is the current and not the bubbles that makes it, in fact, impossible to swim in bubbly water. I love being surprised by results like that. Well, that's pretty neat. We had a build that was more difficult than we thought, a surprise ending, and a myth that is, I gotta say, plausible, but not for the reasons we originally thought.
And bubbly water is kind of festive, isn't it?
Yes, it is.